Hey, hi, and welcome back to the Albuquerque Narrative Gamers Podcast, episode number 6 or 182, depending on how you count. From the bad old days. Okay, we continue forward. And yes, we are finally back on our 3-week schedule. Look at us go. Damn.
We could actually schedule.
I know. This was a weird weekend because it just worked out. Next weekend, I think, is the holiday. That would have been weird because I think we're going to be traveling. So, yeah, it would have just been another one of those, 6 weeks between shows. Ugh. I have figured out Patreon, so I am going to turn off a 30-day window because of the way Patreon does collection now. It's no longer at the beginning of the month.
Yeah.
It's whenever you subscribed. Mm-hmm. That's the date that you pay for the show. So you're no longer able to just turn off payments for April or June. Mm-hmm. You have to do it. You have to schedule these windows. So I figured out how to do it, so I'm going to do it because of that big, long break we took. So, but we're back and we're on track.
What are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to talk about two things, mostly because they're hot.
Yeah.
And they are very, very hot. And when I say hot, one of them is, oh my God, can you spend money on hot? Yeah. What we're going to do is I am going to wax poetically about the upcoming or the changes that have been made to Conquest, the last argument of kings. They released a new rule book and all new faction updates, which are really, really cool. And we'll get into those and what they might mean for the game. And then Josh is going to take over and talk about knitting. Wasn't it knitting?
No, crocheting.
Okay.
Yeah, beaded crochet.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
My bad. No.
No. It's hot. It's in the news. It's coming. A lot of us have been wanting this. I've mentioned it vaguely before. The Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering set is going to be dropping next month.
Oh my God.
I want to dive into this. I'm a big fan of the Final Fantasy games. Well, I think up through like 10. and 14 is great too. But so all the games that we loved playing either growing up or when we were younger from Final Fantasy, I think they have some cards from Final Fantasy 1 all the way up through 15.
Oh my gosh.
There's representation across all those. I'll get into the more specific ones when we get there, and of course riff on Final Fantasy 10 and how amazing that commander deck is. But this is kind of, I thought it fit into the narrative gamer portion of it because it's now they're actually taking what are narrative games, right?
Yes.
Role-playing games, and trying to make them manifest in Magic the Gathering. And I think they largely succeeded. So I'll be riffing on that as well. So we got kind of a 2-part show. Yep. And then, of course, by the end of it, we'll kind of let you know what the upcoming shows are going to be looking like. But for now, we're going to get into the gritty of the Conquest changes. As always, it's subtle but powerful.
Oh boy. Yes, it is.
And then I'll geek out over Final Fantasy.
Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to that.
But before that, there's some new stuff that's come out, hasn't there?
There is. There's a lot of drops that have come out for gaming in general. Again, not going to talk about the GW faucet that is their release schedule. Fire hose, more like it. Right. Oh my God. So we're getting, what's his name? Soul something's coming out, and now we're getting all of the Chaos 40K stuff has hit the streets and has disappeared, which is great. It's bought up.
Yeah, Chaos factions are big fan favorites. And so you're always going to have that Death Guard player who always thinks Death Guard's the best.
Yeah,
and it's always going to get. But they have, frankly, some of the best models in the 40K line.
It's true. It's true.
Beautiful things, fun to paint. Yeah. Right.
And there's a crazy Death Guard list that's going around now that's 4 blocks of 20 Poxwalkers, 1 block of 10, and then I believe it's the Fetid Bloat drones. Mm-hmm. A unit of 2, a unit of 2, a unit of 2. And it just pops onto objectives and says, come take me off. Yeah. Yeah, you do that. Because the characters you bring are the ones that do up Poxwalkers and bloat drones. And it's just when you give Poxwalkers the glow ups, they just become, and they're not gonna wipe out an opponent's army, but you're also not going to shift them off an objective either. Mm-hmm. And with 4 blocks of 20, you have a lot of freedom there.
Yeah.
And, it's we're going into that territory of it's really not a fun game to play against. And I wonder if GW will look at that and go, no. And, pull some lever somewhere that's going to say, nope, you can't do that. But it's a viable list and it won a tournament. So,
like, it's not a fun game when you have to focus fire Poxwalkers down.
Yeah.
Like, you have to devote so many resources into single units of Poxwalkers.
Yeah.
Oh, but I kind of like it at the same time.
I do too. It's definitely right there. It looks you in the face from the codex. It's not like a hidden gem list. It's, wow, this is easy. Other than having to paint 110 Poxwalkers. It's a great, it's a fun time and it's easy to put together. I don't know. It's just weird. But yeah, if you concentrate on blowing down the Poxwalkers, you're letting the bloat drones go around and do what they want.
Yep.
If you focus down them, the Poxwalkers just literally short march to whatever they want to go to and sit on it. So it's a lose-lose.
Yeah.
And, then you bring out your Imperial Knights and maybe they just go, yeah, no, I don't care about hordes. I mean, I literally don't know what the counter is right now in 40K, but there's got to be one.
It'll be figured out soon.
Yeah. So, in other news, if you've been following the Pathfinder / Starfinder updates, you'll know that Starfinder 2 is on the way in August.
Woohoo.
Yeah. I've got the playtest book for Starfinder and it's still Starfinder. It's still amazingly crunchy, complex. You don't play Pathfinder or Starfinder if you just like really, nebulous, whatever kind of games. You really have to enjoy crunching and min-maxing. That's what the game's all about. But they did something really weird here. And at first, it struck me as this is really dumb. They released the Starfinder Galaxy book, which is the history, the lore, adventure hooks, some new backgrounds, definitely some new races before the player's book is out. Huh. And it's really such a strange order to drop things in. But when you think that the playtest documents are available online.
Yeah.
Or you could, like I did, you can actually buy the perfect bound book of what the core is going to look like. And you can actually play it from there. And the other thing this book does is it really whets your appetite. It's an amazingly well-produced book. It's gorgeous. The maps of the galaxy and the history and the little nuggets it gives you. And instead of presenting the galaxy as, okay, here's this race and what they're doing. Here's this race and what they're doing. Here's these guys and what they're doing. And then, here's the Pathfinder Society. Here's the Hell Knights. And, here's what everybody's up to. No, they package it as adventure guidelines. How do you want to play? Do you want to play a horror game? Well, flip to the horror section, and here's all the important planets, and here's all the factions and the subs that play into that horror theme. Okay, we want to have a fantasy type game, magic heavy. Okay, here's the planets that are doing that kind of a thing. And there's like 6 or 8 different genres, and that's how they present it. All the information is there. If you want to look up a particular world, you'll probably find it in the book, but it might not be where you think. It might be, this is under the kind of, steampunk section. Oh, weird. Okay. So it's a neat little setup, and I think it's a neat little taster for the game, but it's just so weird that it comes out before the player's handbook so that you can, make a character to play in that world.
I kind of like it in the sense that, because, all the playtesting that's going on, they release this book and sort of see how players use it before they go on the full on, let's release, because that book could probably be like, a tome. Oh, like if they really want to get into the gritty. Yeah. Yep. So I think it's smart to put out there. A lot of people probably enjoy that sort of guidance to here's where you go for these types of things in the galaxy.
Well, and the beauty of it is this is Paizo. So they put out all this playtest stuff, and they're actually looking at the information that comes back to them.
Yep.
And obviously it's weighted more heavily towards the people that they know have a measured approach, but they're reading a lot of emails. They're reading a lot of playtest documentation and going, that mechanic just does not work. Yeah. Get rid of it. Or, some of the different feats are being reworded daily. It's literally the changes are coming out so fast and furious. It's kind of, it's one of those refreshing things to see a game company that's just literally folding the player experience back into the game and saying, let's make this something you guys want. Because I know what I want.
Yeah.
And if I release that, you might not, you might hate it.
Yeah.
So let's make it what y'all want.
I got to say, like, Starfinder, as far as crunchy RPGs go, that's my absolutely favorite one.
Oh, it's nuts.
Absolutely favorite one.
But it's Pathfinder in space, so it's crazy cool.
I think the space part of it is what, because I wasn't a big fan of Pathfinder, but for some reason Starfinder just took me. Like I stumbled across the book at like Barnes and Noble, I think it was. I was like, what the heck is this? And I start reading it. I'm like, well, they're getting my money today. Oh God, it just plays so well. It's so clean. You'd think like the added effect of like space guns and flight and all those things that you don't do necessarily in Pathfinder. Yeah. It's clean, 100% clean. And I'm excited to see what the final product is.
I'm really jazzed to be getting that book when it comes out. It's, I think the Pathfinder system lends itself to science fiction more actually than fantasy. Fantasy games can bog down into these arguments about, activation orders and what feat goes off before what feat. And, there's so many rules lawyers and what have you that just... they take the game from being a cinematic experience to a let's bury our noses in a book for 3 hours. No. So whereas Starfinder, I think the people that are going to get into that are just looking for that sweeping narrative, fun game.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not going to be like, well, actually, my feed says, okay. It's just, that's a very general statement. I don't mean to be sandboxing anybody. But yeah, looking forward to that. The player core should be out. If you're at all interested in Starfinder and a really cool galaxy setup, that's kind of it's wacky, it's fun, and a completely new approach to a source book that is such a refreshing change to how things are normally done. Pick it up. It's fun. Let me see here. The Warcrow people, that would be Corvus Belly, in case you didn't know. They have broken out the terrain from the Winds of the North set.
Awesome. Into
a separate pack. So I picked that up. And as soon as I got that, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to bust it open just yet because I don't want to have to put it together and take it apart. So I started realizing that I've been wanting to, do one of those make your own battle mats.
Oh, okay.
Where you just cover it with caulking and then you dress it up, but you can still roll it up and put it away.
Yeah, yeah.
And I realized that the Warcrow mats and building a map for Warcrow would be the perfect way to start doing that. So
yeah,
I'm getting all jazzed to do that. I gotta wait for a afternoon or a weekend when I can actually cover the mat with the caulking and all that stuff and have it dry. Because lately it's either been so windy that I would automatically have a dusty table because God, the dust is crazy out here.
It is.
And when I say dust, I mean blowing sand because we live in a desert.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of waiting for a nice afternoon, evening, or weekend day. I thought yesterday might have been it, and then the winds picked up.
Oh my God, it was so bad.
And my God, did they pick up? Holy shizzle. All right. So anyway, that's Warcrow. You are going to see in the near future a getting started with Star Wars Legion, because Star Wars Legion is finally now, Atomic Mass Games has come out and said, yes, this is a new version. We're not going to limp along with the old version. This is new.
Okay.
And we're putting our spin on it. It's no longer, what did Fantasy Flight do that we're just going to keep on life support? The new boxes are amazing. I picked up the Rebels and the ARF Troopers, and those plastic minis are just a joy to behold. And I'm like, well, I did not mind the soft plastic stuff that Fantasy Flight was doing before. It's just fine. There may or may not be a couple of pieces you have to snap together or glue together, but by and large, they go together super easy. And then you knock it off, paint it, and play the game. And then they started coming out with some of the weird hard plastic for some of the different strange kits. Okay. And they went, wow, off the deep end. Could have done a lot of learning from other companies as to how to slice a model and make sprues that make sense. So could have done a lot of that. But AMG has it now. The kits are crazy cool. I'm looking at the changes to the rules, and it seems to me like they're going back to that flavorful narrative cinematic combat as opposed to the let's just suck up to the tournament guys and make everything only work for tournament players. And if you're a casual guy, well, screw you. You have to learn these esoteric rules. So hopefully it's going to be new, but stay tuned. You might see a getting started for that soon. Squad Sprayer 2, you heard me wax poetic about it. I'll be filming the video of it probably today. I'm hoping to get it today, but it's the version number 2 is up and available at the site. Just go to etsy.com/Squad Sprayer and it will be there. And it is crazy cool. I mean, just wait till you see the video. The 2 is just, it's perfection modified. It's awesome. And one thing I also wanted to mention last time and forgot, the Dice Gods Wargaming YouTube channel, they are doing a YouTube series on how to play and getting started really with Infinity N5. And they're taking a really awesome approach to it. They're literally like following the framework of the boxes that have been released for the essentials. So the very first box with the 3 troopers on each side, that's what they're starting with. And the first 2 games you're going to go through on that, he's walking you through everything, how to actually do an order so that you not only develop the muscle memory for how an order works, because in that game, it's very different. Yeah. Activations are very, very different.
Yep.
And the way you have to let your opponent decide what to do in between your moves, but you do all the declarations first, and then you resolve everything. And the order is very important. And so going through the first 2 games with just an incredibly simplified set of rules, and literally just the only orders that you have available to you are move and shoot and dodge. No, not dodge. It's like move and shoot and something else. But they're really good videos, and it's an ongoing series, so you're not going to binge watch them right now. They're only up to this latest one that just came out was Mission 3, where they're adding like camouflage and mimetism and MSV and the things that you're going to run into most commonly in a game. And, let's face it, MSV and camo and mimetism are everywhere.
Yep.
And so knowing how that interacts and how it changes, how the discover action will completely change how you play the game.
Yeah.
In a good way, not, horribly. But yeah, it's a great video series. I highly recommend. I will put the link in the show notes, but it's a really good web series, and I think they're knocking it out of the park. It's a great sort of bite-sized chunks getting into Infinity and learning it at the grassroots level. Yeah, it's a political thing. Yeah, I vote Joan of Arc for 2028. Okay.
Infinity kind of is, so it's not completely out of sorts. But anyway.
One of the things I love about the Infinity lore is the decentralization of the North America stuff and how the world would play out if that wasn't a factor, if rampant capitalism wasn't the defining nature going forward. Like with Cyberpunk and all those other things, it's literally the corporate takeover.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, it's kind of like, cooler heads prevailed. And the people that are on top are the Australians and the Chinese. And it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it's a neat little twist on alternate futures. So anyway, we're getting out of there. So shall we take a quick break and jump into hobby progress?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
You see, for my part, I look upon a promise as binding.
Promise was
never occurred to me.
I command the kingship, not a private yacht. We do not have time for your damned hobbies, sir.
Okay, the hobby. This is what we do for a living. No, this is what we do for our hobby. Yeah, that's right. You want to go first? You want me to go first? You go first.
I'll go first. So most of my time has been consumed with Magic the Gathering.
That's not hobby. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, it totally is. One of the things I've been working on, just slowly building, is this competitive commander deck.
Wow.
Or Itali.
That's a lot of cards.
Yeah.
Crap.
It's 100 cards total. Look at that.
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So if you know Magic, you know Magic. If not, we'll eventually do a getting started on it. But Itali Primal Conqueror, it's a 2-sided commander, but you only use one of it. Commander, it's red and green because the backside is also green. So that's the color identity. 5 and 2 red. It's a 7/7 legendary Elder Dinosaur.
Oh, God.
Right? It has trample, who cares? But when it enters the battlefield, each player exiles from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card.
Oh, my God.
You may cast any number of spells from among the non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. So it hits the battlefield, everyone flips over the top until you hit a creature spell, artifact, whatever, right? Anything that's not a land, right?
Wow.
And then at that exact moment, you get to cast any number of them, right?
Oh, my God.
And so this deck is effectively trying to play your opponent's decks.
Yeah.
But,
burn your decks.
You know, so like, hey, I get him on the battlefield, so wait, it only does it when he enters, so what do I do in order to get multiple effects, right? So this deck runs quite a bit of duplicating spells or ways to sacrifice Atali to put him back in the command zone. So like this card, Rionia Fire Dancer, 3/2 red legendary human wizard. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create X tokens that are copies of another target creature you control where X is 1, plus the number of instant and sorcery spells you cast this turn. Now, Atali is a legendary creature, so you can only have one of him on the battlefield. So you create 2 copies of him that enter the battlefield and trigger that ability twice. Then it's a question of, do you put Atali back in the command zone and try to recast him? Because this deck can make a ridiculous amount of mana. Or do you leave him on the field to try and hit him with another duplicate spell like Heat Shimmer or something like that? And so it's real crazy how like once you can trigger like 2 to 3 Atali activations, like you just run away with the game.
Wow.
And so it doesn't run blue, so you can't really counter much except for the 3 red counter spells that it has.
Yeah.
You can't bounce stuff really all that well, except there's a card called Cloudstone Curio that kind of lets you get away with that. And
Jesus.
so it's this thing where you just like jam a bunch of mana, sacrifice Atali, copy Atali, do whatever you got to do. I think there's probably like 5 or 6 duplicate like spells in the deck. You know, one's Chandra, you got Rionia. Oh, no, there's more than that. Because there's just so many cards that you can use, you know, to duplicate him or sack him. It runs Roaming Throne, which, you know, you pick Dinosaur when it comes in, and Roaming Throne says if there's like a triggered ability from a creature you control of the type you chose with Roaming Throne, it triggers twice.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Right? So Roaming Throne comes in and becomes a dinosaur. It's an artifact creature. But then Atali comes down and triggers twice every single time he hits the field because he's a dinosaur.
Holy crap.
There are a few different ways people have built this deck. I'm trying out my own little spice, which is throwing in Flaming Tyrannosaurus from the Doctor Who set. Because it says when you cast a spell from anywhere other than, or if you cast a spell from exile, it does 3 damage to any one target, and you put a +1/+1 counter on it.
Jeez.
Then, whenever it dies, it does damage to each opponent equal to its power. So, and he's a dinosaur, so I have Cavern of Souls in there too, which makes it so you can't counter, you know, something of the chosen type, right? So my Roaming Throne comes down, my Flaming Tyrannosaurus comes down, my Atali comes down, can't counter it, right? So then, no, I hadn't seen anyone run that tech. It's a really expensive card, but in my testing with it, I've been able to flip it off of Atali.
Oh, boy.
And so I don't have to pay the 7 mana to put it onto the field.
Jesus.
But it's just absolutely hilarious how quickly that runs away when you're duplicating Atali so many times. And you're just like blowing up the board and stuff. And then I do have sack outlets. So then if I just need to clean up my opponents, I can sack the Flaming Tyrannosaurus. It's a really fun deck. I really wanted to make it because it was, like I said, Sans Blue.
Yeah.
Because I've run too many of those decks in my life. And I'm working on one right now. How about that?
Who knew?
Yeah, so VV from the new Final Fantasy drops. Oh my God, who would have thought that cute little black mage would become a freaking powerhouse? I will talk more about that when we get to the Final Fantasy side of it, right?
Cool.
And then a little bit on the side of him playing Final Fantasy X again, since it's my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
And I'll talk a little bit more about the deck for that when we get to Final Fantasy stuff, but I've been just brewing decks.
Nice.
Brewing decks. How about you, Bill? You've been busy.
I kind of, but I mean, I had to take many, many, many days completely off just because was taking care of somebody. So, yeah. So I finished up painting the Essentials box for Infinity. The JSA troops are done. Had a little bit of fun with those, just getting back into the whole trying to regain the muscle memory for painting. So yeah,
That's fun.
that was fun. The Krennic box came out for Shatterpoint, or I shouldn't say came out because it came out a while ago. I've got one now, and that's still, I haven't even built it yet, and it's my favorite. And until Jen Erso comes out here in a few months, that will continue to be my favorite until she comes. And then I will never play anything but Jen. So I just, oh man, I love that movie. I just, yeah.
Rogue One.
Yeah.
Just-
yeah, Rogue One.
It's the best Star Wars movie. I said it.
Yeah.
Internet. Best Star Wars movie. And Andor, holy crap.
Yeah.
That series is amazing.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's like Star Wars grew up.
It got a brain. Yeah. That's, I love the idea of Rogue One was just so good because you knew they were going to die.
Yeah.
You knew it was going to end
Wait,
badly.
Oh, spoilers. Oh.
You never watched the last 5 minutes, did you? You just walked away. You popcorn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're going to kiss, right? Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
They didn't kiss, by the way.
And then it went white.
Yeah.
And they were all gone. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just, but being able to actually tell such a compelling story was so refreshing in a Star Wars universe that has been dominated by, let's just do the same old shit over and over and over again. And, make $1 billion each time because people are stupid.
Ugh.
Yeah.
We'll have a little after dark discussion about Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. So, because the JSA stuff is done and the Kestrel stuff is done, I wrote down here diving into Sandtrap. What I'm diving into the full Essentials box now to get those models built up so that when the wife decides that we're going to move up in the world, we will move up in the world. And I really want to play Kestrel. I really like that as it's a nice, military orders. I really want to get those guys on the table, but I do not want that to be my first few games because they're one-dimensional, and that dimension is really hard to master.
Yeah.
So I'm flip-flopping back and forth between the nomads and, because you can make so many different amazingly good nomads lists. I just bought the last of the things I need for my initial list for nomads for the Bakunin.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. I did develop my new version 2 of the order tracker. Did I leave it out? Yeah, I did.
This is where you put applause in, right?
Yeah, I should. I should put clapping, but yeah, that's the new version 2.
Oh,
which,
wow.
Incidentally, is a lot smaller, and it's a cool little order tracker. It'll track 16 orders for Group 1, 10 orders for Group 2, 5 command, just in case you have the +1 command, and 2 lieutenant orders. Plus, the way I'm doing it now is I'm going to color the markers, these things, the little magnetized things. I will color them according to what, rather than having it determined by the slot what kind of order it is, this will determine so that you can figure it out each turn and make it work. The only issue I have is when I cut the lid, I didn't leave enough room for the lieutenant orders to not hit the ridge on the top. So it sits up a little bit. So I just store the lieutenant orders up with the command orders. But yeah, that was just what I worked on. And I'm going to put the STLs up on the Discord and on the Patreon for free, not for money. They won't be behind a paywall. So I did a lot of work on that. Oddly enough, that's a lot more work than I would have thought it should have been for just doing a version 2, because I had to throw away version 1. It didn't work as well as I wanted. So
it's great. It's great. If you all have your 3D printer or know someone who can print it for you, grab that STL, because this is very handy.
Yep. You need a crap ton of magnets, but it helps the game. It smooths the game out. So I built the 6 Gulter Beast Pack that I bought for the Nords. I built those. The little piggies back there. I love those pigs. I mean, they're just so cool, and they're so Nord. So yeah, I can't wait.
Beautiful models in person.
They went together. I would say I built the 2 boxes probably in 2 hours.
Oh,
yeah. It's, one side of the body, the other side of the body, put the 4 legs on, and then leave the shields the little shield accoutrement off so that you can paint the bodies and then slap the shields on. And the head was 3 parts: side, lid, snout. So I mean, they just go together beautifully. And I've got the 2 boxes of Steel Chosen that I need to get done this week because I want to have Steel Chosen out there. And yeah, it's just, they're, again, Parabellum leaps and bounds getting better with creating plastic models. And as they update the kits, they're just a dream to build. Just a dream to build.
I mean, hands down, probably the best modeling and sculpting that's going on right now, I'd say, in plastic. Their design team is just brilliant.
Yeah, I would say, between them and, the Atlantic Mini guys and some of the, the Perry miniatures, some of those are just so good. And their experience with doing this kind of stuff, it shows so much. I love Atomic Mass games, and most of their models go together like a breeze. And then you'll run into the character for MCP that has a 3-part head. And, keep in mind that the head is half the size of your pinky fingernail, but it's in 3 pieces. Half the head, and then the hair piece. And you're like, why? Why?
This could have been one. This could have been one piece.
It's every other kit. The head's in one piece. There's no undercuts, overcuts, whatever. Stop. Just stop. And if I ever find that guy that splits figs into sprues, because there's a couple of guys there that just are knocking it out of the park, and there's one guy that's like, I'm going to split this head into 3 parts. That'll screw him up, won't it? Oh, find that guy and fix whatever went wrong in his childhood. We're going to work through it.
I think it's more like he goes out and he plays a few games, and then when he loses really hard to someone, he's like, what's your favorite character?
Yeah. I'm doing that one. I love it. That's just so wrong. So, yeah. And then last but not least, I am truly fighting the urge to just buy everything Corvus Belly makes and just build it. They're so much fun. Yeah. And I hate metal. I really do. But they make it to where it's painless. And it's so easy. Just so easy. The other day I slapped together, I decided I wanted to, I have the, what's his name? Seraph for Bakunin, but, or no, Stigmata, sorry. And I decided that I wanted to do the other one too. So I was just like, all right, I'll pick one up. And I did not realize they were like out of stock everywhere in the world. I just went down to Ed and there was one. I just picked it up and bought it. I didn't think, man, I could have scalped that. Damn it. But no, I built it. And it's another one of those models that just, you shake the box and it all goes together. It's done. You put a little super glue here and there and you're done. And they do it so well. But that's what I've been doing for hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shall we move into the main show?
That sounds like we should.
Good speech. Nice and short.
Leaves more time for drinking. Break out the ale! These men are thirsty!
All right, we're going to start off with Conquest and the changes that came out this week. Start off with, I'm just going to refer to this as the update that made the factions play like the lore, because that's really what this one is doing. There's a ton of fixes. If you go to the main rule book, you're not going to see a lot of magenta. In fact, I will break it out for you right now. The changes in the main rule book are clarifying that the priority role, the lower scorer chooses whether they will be the first or second player for that turn. They're just clarifying that and made the wording perfectly clear. On page 73, they just made the wording for where the character stand goes in the formation completely clear. It has to go next to the command stand. Okay, that's it. That's the only rule. It can go on the left side. It can go on the right side. It cannot go behind because it has to be engaged. Follow the picture. It's so simple. I don't know why it's becoming an issue or why they had to clarify it. It was simple. It's even simpler now. On page 75, they clarified what an entourage action is. And an entourage action is basically you pick your character card, you do your actions with the character, you put that card down. When you draw the next card, and it is the non-monster regiment that character is attached to, that is the beginning of the entourage activation. That moment, that spot in time. So if you have the ability on some of your people that block an entourage activation, that has begun. And depending on the wording of the ability, you would then either turn it off and put the card back on top of the command stack, or do whatever it says has to be done during an entourage activation.
Yeah.
So just clarifying when it starts and what it is. And then lo and behold, page 99, they added the special rule for Juggernaut.
Woohoo.
And yeah, this is really cool. This is the thing to give your monsters and your bigger brutes the ability to not get turned off. Juggernaut basically states that the regiment's charge distance is always its march value plus 5 inches and is not affected by rules that would add or reduce it. So this is going to give those really big monsters and, some specific brutes, you're not going to be able to turn off their charges. So a really welcome change, because seeing a tiny, very small point costed unit turn off the charge of a very large monster that's the crux of your army list was disheartening at best. That won't happen no more if they give it the Juggernaut rule.
And again, comports more with lore.
Yeah.
This giant, you ain't stopping that big thing, little guy. You need another big thing to stop the big thing.
Yeah.
And it's coming for you. And you can't stop it.
Yep. And make monsters be monsters, because that's what we do. So overall, I got to say that what has happened here and what I see in this change, what in this document of changes to the factions, is that the game is now mature enough and the system is mature enough that they can start going into each faction and making them reflect the lore just a little bit more.
Yeah.
With the last group of changes, the glow up to 100K, 100 Kingdoms, we saw them start this process where 100 Kingdoms was just, I think it has the most regiments of any faction out there. And they crossed so many different boundaries, so many different lines. And there was no, it was the Wild West. You could do whatever you wanted. It was a free for all. Now you have very specifically the orders, the theists, the what's the name? The feudal. There's now absolute flavor. And yes, you can combine two of them. You can never combine order and theist because, well, they remember the red years. They remember that fight that they had. They're not going to go on the field of battle together. They're just not going to happen. So the rules now reflect that. That's awesome. And it's really great for the game. It's, seeing the factions start to play like the lore that we've read about for so long and is so pervasive and good. So, the Nords are being split around and they had their glow up, at the same time 100K did. And there was some very basic changes to how they played the game. And with the finishing of the changes they did now, they play like you would think Nords play. They're going to be the hit and run army. They're going to go out there. They're going to score early. They're going to have a mid game where they just try to hang on to what they grabbed. And then their end game is, well, let's just say the end game for Nords is not too participatory. But that's the whole idea is you have to go out there and score an insurmountable lead. It's a hit and run.
Yeah.
And people, the way they used to play was they could hit and run in like a 2-turn time span. And that was not fun for the other people.
Yeah.
Now it's more reflective of across the entire game. They're going to hit. They always want to be charging. Most of their bonuses come on the charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have to be slamming into you, and they have to be repeatedly slamming into you.
Yep.
With more than one unit, because they're not going to go toe to toe with just about any unit in the game on an equal footing. So yeah, and then you just have to try to hold on to what you grabbed while you take the loot and scurry it back onto your long ships and go back home and have a beer. Yeah. So they have mentioned in the designer notes that, Spires is going to get their glow up soon, but there are changes for Spires in this thing. The biggest changes in this one has to be the new changes for Wadroon. So when they did the big Wadroon glow up, they changed the chanting system pretty completely. And there were still some issues with it. And I think part of the issue was there's still some very go-to chants, and that's the end of that. The rest of them don't see play. So what they've done now is they have eliminated all of the tier 2 chants. There's no such thing as a tier 2 chant anymore. Now each unit has bespoke chants.
Okay.
And the system in here is literally just going to be you're going to have already chosen the cult. You're going to discard 2 chant markers for that unit and then enact the chant that is on that unit. And it just makes it to where you're now going to have a reason to bring in some of those lesser represented units because they have the chant you want.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of the Wadroon got the bulk of the changes. I'm not going to read them out piece by piece, but the chanting system has changed yet again. And let's see how this one works. I'm not going to say to me, it looks really solid and it looks like a really good idea. I think only time's going to tell how it plays. So literally 4 pages of changes to get, or no, it's actually 6 pages, isn't it? Yeah, it's 6 pages of changes because the Raptor Riders is all the way down on, oh boy, the Chosen of War strides onto the battlefield. Yeah, okay, this is, wow, did they get changes? Crazy. Okay, 7 pages. So, and then for 100 Kingdoms, highlights here are, let's see here, some of the masteries that changed. Flesh Cleaver went from 25 to 15. Standard of Steel, yeah, went from 50 to 40. Yay. Art of War went from 30 to 25. Yeah, whatever. The big change for them is Armor of Dominion is now affecting the regiment that you're with. No longer does it only affect the stands that are in contact with the character that had Armor of Dominion. Now it's just so much easier. It's that regiment has Armor of Dominion, period.
I don't know why it wasn't that before. Like, it's just unnecessarily complex.
Way unnecessarily. And, you know, it led to that whole thing of you were always trying to make sure that you charged either from the flank that character was not touching, or if you did have to do a frontal charge, you would angle it so that the least amount of stands were in contact with the Armor of Dominion. Now it's a regiment rule. Okay, thank you. Archangel got some changes. The range of the charge was moved up to 14 inches. And the hits are now 8 instead of 7. So a little tougher, a little bit more beefy for what you're paying for, which is good. The Crusaders dropped 10 points. Mounted Squires, now here's one that's Mounted Squires went down 10 points to 130. That's really good. That's really, really good. Household Knights went 10 points up. Who knew? Absolutely, who knew? So just a clarification here. March of the Faithful went from, it was written as Indomitable 1. Now it's Indomitable +1. So makes sense. It plays with the new rule thing. Let's see here. Crimson Tower units down 10 points. Okay, cool. I like that because I like them. I tend to like that. I know Ash and Dawn is the thing, but I like Crimson. So Sakari went from 4 attacks to 5, giving them a little beef. And each one of these changes has designer notes. So when you pull up the document, it will show you what their thought process was, which is really nice. Household Guard, the Arms Master to 15 points. Very nice. Steel Legion. Wow. Finally, somebody got the idea that these guys are wearing metal armor. This is cool. Yeah, we should be the idea of running Steel Legion into something and just getting mowed down by guys wearing loincloths. Oh, it made me so angry. But they gained Hardened 1. Gilded Legion went down 10 points to 160. Okay, now that was the highlights of the 100K changes. The Spires, wow. So they got the Terraphon Surveyor as a new model, a new thing for them that should be coming out soon.
Holy crap, is that thing amazing?
Yeah, it's really good. It is really, really good. And if it's indicative of where the Spires are going to be in the glow up, oh boy, watch out, people. But to bring Spires up to the current sort of meta of the game, banners are now free across the board. So if a unit's capable of having a banner, it has it. That makes sense. Onslaught drones went from 120.35 to 110.30. So
yep,
big change there. Bound clones went from 120.40 to 110.30, so a 10-point drop across the board. Vanguard clothes went down to 140 from 150. Vanguard clones went down 10 points to 160. Why? No, anyway. Avatara, oh God, this is so bad. This is so bad. The Avatara went from 165.55 to 160.50, so a 5-point drop. Big deal.
But
they got a new special rule. Oh my God. So they get Flawless Technique. While the Regiment has the Inspired Special rule, it also gains the Flawless Strike Special rule. Oh,
yep.
God. So just avoid them. Yeah. Marksman clones, finally, yes. Now there's physics in the world, so their range has been reduced to 20 inches. Now, it's still one of the 2 top ranges in the game, but
yeah,
it's not as silly. The Abomination. Now, here's going to be a thing that makes the Abomination a lot more tasty for people.
Oh, yeah.
It's medium, not heavy. So you will at least have it for one more turn. At least one more turn. Now, if you don't want to use your things to get it, okay, that's on you, but now you're at least guaranteed to have one more turn with that thing. So Superior Creation Army Special rule was made more efficient. It is now a flat plus 10 points per regiment, and it was 5 points per stand. Standard regiment of 3, so you're automatically getting a 5-point bonus. So not a bad change.
Yeah, when you start stacking your Avatara, though.
Yeah.
It gets even better.
Mm-hmm.
Even better.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Unstable enhancement change. Now you can set your clash or volley to 3 instead of just adding to it. So yay for them. Old Dominion changes are, let's see here, the Hashashin. You see that real quick when you're not drunk. Okay, anyway, you see, I got me some Hashashins.
I got the Hashashin.
Yeah. They had a serious glow up. They went from 180, 60 points per stand, to 150, 50 points per stand. So a 30-point base drop and then a 10-point ad drop.
And they lost an attack.
They lost an attack. They were 7. They went down to 6. But seeing as you're going to be able to add an extra stand, you'll make up for that.
Yep.
So let's see here. The Hitaros changed. 10 points was 20 points. It removed... Overrun special roll, by the way, is gone.
Yeah.
Only a good thing for the game. Instead, they add this regiment re-rolls failed hit rolls when performing impact attacks. So kind of better than Overrun, but not as gamey.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very good. The Hitaros are nice. For the Morai, let's see here. The Cleave one went into their basic profile, so no longer having to pay. The loses Priest from its basic profile. It's no longer a spellcasting unit.
Oh, it is when you get Memories of Old. But
yeah.
It's not a static priest.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not just written in as it. And then, of course, you do the Memory of Old. The changes. This regiment may perform free spellcasting action during its activation using one stand as if it were a character stand. It gains the Priest X special rule where X is +2 per stand to a maximum of Priest 12.
+2 per. It was +1 before when they were static priests.
Right.
So that's even better. I mean, you don't get like turn 1 casting with them, but
right.
When you do turn on the casting, holy crap, they're +6 with a base regiment.
Yeah, just the regular unit is Priest 6, which is standard with every priest in the game. You add 1 or 2 more stands, and now all of a sudden you are guaranteed. So
crap.
Yeah. So the Ketis, again, loses Priest X from its basic profile and picks up that rule about +2 per stand. So minimum of 6, maximum of how much do you want to spend?
Yes.
So points wise.
Yeah.
Let me see here. The Prodromite. Why do they make words that are so weird?
Prodromoy.
Yeah, that thing. They went from impact. They went to impact 2 from 1. Yeah. What's this next one? I'm not gonna try. Ketikis. Yeah.
Yeah. They went to light. Range went down to 14 from 16. Barrage set at 4. And they have their armor piercing moved to the Memories of Old, and they also added Sure Shot for Memory of Old. So fair. I mean, they're supposed to be like the lightest cavalry in the game. I think they get on the board, they zoom around, they poke you with arrows, and they take objectives when they can.
Well, being light, they can contest, which is nice. It's a good way of keeping a giant from just absolutely taking.
Oh yeah, that's right, because they changed to light from
they changed to light. Let me see. Strategos. I'll let you take these.
Okay. The Strategos or Mounted Strategos Supremacy change. Glimmers of a Golden Age, always active. The army may reach the Dark Power Empowerment Tier 4 as described in the Empowerment section of the rules. Activated until the end of the round, all friendly regiments in the army count the current Empowerment Tier as 1 tier higher. And each friendly regiment that is to arrive from reinforcements this round gains the Vanguard 3 special rule. So that Vanguard adding, woo!
Yeah.
Ooh.
It just made the Strategos a hell of a lot more tasty of an option.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I liked running the Mounted Strategos as my general, right? And so that's stuck on him. Then by the time, oh my goodness, like that's spicy. That's spicy.
That's
Activate it,
really-
and like that's the thing. They're so slow, right?
Yeah.
But then you Vanguard him, like what? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's a really nice, and the way they've changed Vanguard, I think is really great because now you don't have to change the base movement of somebody. But when you slap Vanguard 3 on a unit, okay, that's impactful if your move is 4.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And this is probably my favorite change they got. So when you hit tier 3 on the Dark Power pool, all regiments in the army gain inspired.
That's crazy too powerful. I'm sorry. That's going to make me go out and buy Old Dominion. I mean, because you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know what resolve is. I've heard people talking about it. I don't know what it means. And now basically as soon as I get to 3, it's I don't have to worry about inspiring. I just go clash, or heaven forbid, charge clash. So now I know OD doesn't play that way, but oh boy, that could be that. Oh, the action economy that one statement gives, that army puts them back into the middle of the fray in every game. Awesome.
Yeah. You as soon as you hit 3, which is probably going to be like what, depending on how aggressive your opponent is, probably around like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Turn 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So you hit that mid game, and then all of a sudden you're just swinging hard. And you're tier 3, so your Memories of Old is both like a draw event and whatever the other one is. So you get activated twice.
Yeah.
So, oh gosh, yeah. Like they're made for it's the opposite of the Nords, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Like, they slowly march up the board, taking casualties. They hit the mid board, and then everything's turned on.
Yes, and just you will not shift them once they have reached a spot. Oh man. And the way they're just completely leaning into that lore, that faction identity by just, okay, here's the deal. Now you can get this Vanguard 3 to get up the board a little bit quicker, knowing full well that everyone else is still faster than you.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a help. It's not going to make you in the same vein as city-states or Nords.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that kind of stuff. But boy, when it counts, when you have to be there and be there with the mostest, you're going to be. Man, it's so cool.
Yep.
Okay, city-states got nerfed hard. Okay, I'm kidding. So they did get a couple of very good nerfs. I think there was some negative play things going on here. One of the overarching things in this set of updates is trying to take flank away from being printed on a lot of units. And the way I think flank should be something that you get and you build during list building. I think flank should be abilities that come with specific generals or specific things that you purchase. And that's how, I don't think flank should just be inherent to the crap ton of units that it's inherent to. And so they obviously read my mind and said, yes, you are right, Bill. So what they've done, at least for city-states, is both variants of the chariot have had removed the flank rule and gave them the Vanguard 4 special rule. Okay.
Yeah.
That's absolutely 100% acceptable. I like it. You still got to roll for these guys to come in. The Talos, same thing. Remove flank, gain the Vanguard 3 special rule. Obviously, it's a little bit less because the base is so much bigger. So, okay, great. So, initiatives and Thorakides received major adjustments to combat certain oppressive strategies. In other words, city-states players were being jerks. So the initiative mastery change, 20 points was 40 points, so it went down 20 points. But now the effect is when the regiment this character stand is currently attached to activates from the strategic stack, it can immediately perform a free out of sequence charge or reform. So reins them in a little bit from the freedom that they had before. They are still now absolutely 100% prime idea to have in your strategic stack, because activating them from that just basically gives you a free charge. Hello. I'll take that every
That's
day.
powerful.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because think about it. That means you get the free charge. So you have, what's his name from the charge. And then that gives you a basic clash next. If you wipe out the unit, you now still have a move in your pocket.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm good with this. Okay, the Thorakides change. There's a raft of these changes. 35 points per stand, down from 40. Auxiliary stand went down to 50 from 60, so hopefully you'll see more auxiliary stuff. They lost fluid formation.
Ooh, that's the kicker.
But wait, they lose it and they get it right back. So they have gained the take cover rule. When this regiment becomes the target of an enemy regiment's volley action, it gains Tenacious 2 special rule until the end of that action, not until the end of the turn. Don't think you're tenacious the whole freaking turn. Just for that combat, or that set of rolls, you're Tenacious 2. And then they gained the change flanks rule, which is when the regiment activates from the strategic stack, it gains the fluid formation special rule until the end of the round. So there's your fluid formation. It's no longer automagic, which is good, because that was really annoying.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb.
Yeah, to just basically, I mean, every units with fluid formation that are not cavalry, I've been like, what? Especially a mixed unit of Thorakides and big bulls.
Yeah.
Why do they have fluid? But now they can get it, but they have to come from the strategic stack, so you have to think about it. The phalangites change. Wall of pikes. Oh boy, this is so bad. This is so bad. Wall of pikes. When the regiment activates from the strategic stack, it gains Aura of Death 6. Special rule until the end of the round. Aura of Death hits from this regiment can only be applied to enemy regiments in the front arc. So this is super situational, and you obviously have to plan this correctly. If you do this after the unit in your front arc is gone, you've wasted it.
Yep.
So, but if you plan this, if you get this off correctly, oh God, Aura of Death 6, it's just, that's beautiful. It makes me cry.
It's like you're trying to be a Spires player.
Yeah. You know, or
Little Dweg, maybe?
or Dweg, yeah. Okay, Hoplites got a small change. What they got hold while another friendly regiment is in contact with the same enemy regiment as this regiment, it gains the Opportunist special role. So they borrowed a little Nord stuff here, but it makes Hoplites a little bit more appealing.
Yeah.
A little bit more. Now the Polemarch, wow, his supremacy changed. Yeah. Army of Lions, which is always active. The regiment this character stand is currently attached to, including any auxiliary stand, and the character stand itself, adds +1 to its clash characteristics to a maximum of 4, and gains the Tenacious 1 special rule. Oh my God. Polemarch just became real tasty.
Yeah, it was always kind of like people talking about it on the fence about it. Like some people loved it, some people didn't. But I mean,
Yeah.
that
is chef's kiss right there.
like if you build around that.
Now keep in mind, that's a supremacy that only affects one regiment.
I understand.
So you're basically throwing away some of the other really tasty, like the engineer, the mechanist.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's how you want to play. It definitely throws more into how you want to play the army and gives you the freedom to decide that now.
But I mean, you also get the major morale buff.
Yeah. Yeah. In addition, friendly infantry regiments currently within 10 inches of the warlord may re-roll failed unmodified morale rolls of 6. How often does that come up? Not very. But it's nice to have. It's not anything I would throw away. Let's see. The Hipparchos supremacy changed. Hammer and Anvil now only works when friendly cavalry or chariot regiments are engaged with an enemy regiment flank and rear. So no more. It becomes very situational how his supremacy works, and you have to be good. Don't bother taking this if you're not real good at using the cavalry and the chariots to pin units. So there's an art to doing that, and doing it in the wrong order is with his supremacy. It's you're throwing away the supremacy. Eidolon can no longer be the warlord. He's a scholar in
Yeah.
the lore. He's, actually a book nerd. So, yeah, he can't be the warlord. That's not his thing. Okay, so let's see here. What did they do to the Mechanist? Well, the previous version of Supremacy had the regiment suffering. Yeah, we'll move on. Now the Mechanist change is Carrier of the Godflesh, always active. When placing a command card in your strategic stack, reveal it to your opponent first, and then select a regiment currently on the battlefield that the command card could activate. Until the end of the round, that regiment gains the hardened +1 to a maximum of 2 special rule. In addition, during list building and for the duration of the battle, friendly Clockwork Hoplite regiments change their class to medium. So, wow. So you're doing a thing you want to do, getting one hell of a benefit from doing it. Oh, and your Clockworks are scoring. Yay. And they're coming in early. Oh, I love it.
They're light otherwise, aren't they?
I believe they were light,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I think they were light, yeah.
But then they are classified as medium though
Yeah.
for the whole game. Okay, gotcha.
Yep. So now they can score, and one of them somewhere on the board is going to be hardened +1 for as soon as you put one of them, which you're probably going to do anyway, because the way you set up your stack, you're going to probably bury one of them in the command stack so that you can pull them out and do all the nasty stuff. And then the other unit gets, +1 hardened +1.
I can dig it.
Yeah, it makes them a lot more flexible and honestly a lot more appealing to take. The Satiroi, let's see here, 160 and 50 down from 260. So they dropped 40 points. Wow.
Spice.
They did lose an attack. They went to 4 attacks from 5. They removed the ability for them to enter from any side of the table. Again, part of the flank thing, part of the, no, you don't come in from crazy. And they added the following rule: Pathfinders, a reinforcement line set by this regiment cannot be pushed back by an enemy regiment. Huge. Really huge. It's like the best regiment rule. It is it's the American rule. So anyway, that was my really bad Trump. So
Had the following rule: imperialism.
yeah. Wow, they are just like us. Okay, anyway. The Promethean and the Hephaestian both went down 10 points, trying to get them out into the game a little bit more.
Yeah.
The Minotaur Therian gained the Juggernaut special rule, which, if you were paying attention, I told you what that was. That's charge +5 inches, cannot be modified.
Yep.
And the changes to the Minotaurs is to get people to play more Minotaur regiments rather than buying Minotaurs just to put into your mixed regiments.
Yep.
So I had always been like, I want to take a regiment of these anyway, but now it's even more fun.
Oh yeah.
The Minotaur Haspis gained the Unstoppable special rule, so your melee boys are going to get into melee. And last but not least, for the Promethean Oracle and the Jotnar Siders, axe is being brought more in line with the sword. So the axe is now changed to this regiment gains the cleave +1 special rule. In addition, if it inflicts at least 1 wound to an objective marker, the objective marker is destroyed. So it's not, there's a little bit more choice between the axe and the sword.
Yeah.
So, and then we do the Nord changes. Oh boy. Yeah. Here we go.
It's real short.
It really is, but it's very, very impactful. Major changes to how some of the leaders work, and this is to fall more in line with their new army meta rule, where they have to basically pick what they're going to be. So the Varglord now can have a maximum of 2 Galter Beast Pack and a maximum of 2 Fenrir Beast Pack in their mainstay. This is to prevent you from taking the block of nothing but Galter Beast Pack.
Ugh.
And literally having maxed out units. So you would end up with, what was it? It would be 6, 12, 18, 24 Galter Beast Pack just roaming around going, hi, how are you doing?
I smell truffles over here.
Yeah, exactly. Funny how they smell like Old Dominion people.
Right?
So the Jarl was changed. Now this is a ray of sunlight in an otherwise gloomy day. The Jarl gained Bow Chosen as part of their warband.
It makes sense.
Oh, God, doesn't it ever? And it was such a pain in the ass to have to run the Jarl and the Blooded in order to get a decently mixed force. Well, now you can take all your Jotnar, all your giants, and the Jarl as your, well, I have to have one human. So Bow Chosen went down 100 to 190 from 200, so a 10-point drop.
All right.
Still one of the best units in the game. Yeah. So even though Steel Chosen went 160 points and 50 per stand, down from 180, 60, so a 20-point drop. Huskarls gained +1 attack. I'm totally jazzed with that. The number one biggest change in this setup is the Mountain Jotnar just became a medium instead of a heavy.
Huh.
So he's coming in, and believe you me, he's coming in with that very first auto pick.
Yeah.
So unless you're an idiot, he's coming in. Other balance adjustments were made. The Fenrir Beast Pack gained flank, so even though everybody else is losing it, they gained it, which only makes sense. And the Galter Beast Pack got impact +1.
Okay. Good.
I just built 6 of them. Yay. Let's see here. Werewargs went down to 160 points, and their regen went to 5 as opposed to 3.
Oh.
They're not there yet. They need to give them some hitting power because they basically run into you like a wet noodle, and then they die like a dish rag. So I don't think that's enough.
You don't think regen 5 is enough?
No. Well, because you'll be wiped out. Any unit in the game that you're going to charge is probably going to wipe you out on the clapback. So
maybe we just need like decent support because it's very Spires.
Yeah. If they would have bumped their defense or resolve, I'd say, yeah, that's good. But no, just giving him regen 5. If there's nothing left, there's nothing to regen. And that's what I always ran into, playing with Terry, is the unit would charge. It would get completely obliterated. And yeah, the regen would just be like, yeah, that was nice. With the card off the board, can I still regenerate? No. Okay, fine. All right. One of the last changes, the Stalkers lost flank and went down to 130 points. Again, it's a decent change. I hate to see Stalkers lose flank, but makes sense because Nords have the way to basically gain flank via their supremacy abilities.
Yeah.
So when you say they're losing flank, they're losing it being printed on the unit. Now you have to basically choose to have that as your ability. The Scourge, of course, we just talked about that. It's the axe on the big giant. It gains the cleave plus the I beat objectives into the ground. And they have both Blooded and Ogre changes allow for the Blooded to act as a proper monstrous leader, creating a meaningful comparison with the same spirited Jarl Raider lists. So the Blooded gains the Bestial Devolution role, which is Trolls and Ogre regiments in this warband gain the Dread special rule. Very huge change. And Ogres gain the Shock special rule. Super cool.
Makes sense.
Good changes for the Nords.
Makes sense.
You want to handle the Uroni?
Oh, yes.
I don't know anything about them. I don't like them. I think they're stupid. Anyway.
All right, so the first one that came up that I thought was, more significant is how, and I like how they described it because it's what I thought when I read the doc, but in an effort to adhere to existing lore and the spirit of the faction, we tried to bring the daimyo in line with its core concept and design spirit, merging, what, Bill? Lore and gameplay for a more fulfilling experience.
I'm sitting here drinking and choking, and you're asking me questions. Damn you, man.
Yeah, so the daimyo change, you can now select to follow Ka, Chu, Sui, or Fu ideals, and the supremacy has been changed to Lord of the Roaring Flames, which is always active. Once per round, when activating a regiment or character with the same ideal card as your warlord, you may also gain the following effects. The regiment gains the Glorious Charge special rule until end of the round. Beautiful.
That is super good.
Yeah. And we're back. Bill almost died. We had to take a weird sudden break.
Yes. Well, you were asking me something, and I was in the middle of drinking and choking, and it threw me off.
Yeah, so just riffing on the little design note that they're trying to bring the daimyo back in, so the lore and gameplay are uniting.
I love that. The flavorful necessity of that is just so awesome. And the idea that they're not selling their soul to just say, this is a super good character, you should buy it. It's not Captain Titus. Just saying. Just saying.
Lieutenant, you mean?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so before Bill almost died, I read through everything, but the activated portion of Lord of the Roaring Flames, during this round, all friendly regiments activated with the same ideal card as your warlord benefit from its effects regardless of their battlefield role. So, beautiful.
That's just, yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. Now, they're riffing here on the Domaru Damashi.
Yeah.
Because they said they really wanted this one to like stand out. So just to sort of bring that leader into its own, so to speak. Sorry, not leader. Sorry, that unit specifically. Yes. 140 points plus 40 per stand. They went to move 7, attack 6, and wounds 4.
And flurry.
Yeah, they gained flurry.
They're so OP. Oh my God, Euroni is so OP. Anyway.
Yeah, Flurry, Impact 2, Unstoppable. Their special rules. They got Visage. Friendly regiments can draw line of sight through this regiment. When this regiment becomes the target of an enemy regiment's volley action, it gains Tenacious 2 until end of the action.
I love that. It's a loose formation. It's a very loose formation. So, instead of tagging it with a specific sort of loose formation rule, here's the way it affects these guys. And I love that. They don't block line of sight.
Yeah.
You just put your bows right behind them.
Yep.
And you have a 1-2 punch. Because going in there, Unstoppable, Impact 2, and Flurry, those guys are Vegematics.
Yeah.
They are literally Vegematics. 6 attacks. Thank you very, very much. I'm down. 19-inch threat range. Sign me up. Where do I buy these?
Yeah.
I don't buy them. I don't buy them yet. I did buy the Kitsune.
Oh, did you?
The collector's. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful model.
I didn't jump on that one. I backed off and started playing Magic again. So I have to shift, your priorities.
I hear you.
Can't wait to get back into these guys. So the Shikigami, they had to change it. It was listed as infantry. This is an army of brutes.
Oops. Yeah, well.
And then they count as size 1. Then
it's still really small.
Yeah. Modular stands. They got a big change, which is all modular stands plus 1 wound.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think the design note was they just didn't have like the staying power, right? Too low of a wound count and underperforming competitively as a result.
Yeah, I would think.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Then the Kami Ayakashi change, command rule. Stands in the regiment add +1 to their evasion characteristic and gain the Tenacious 1 special rule.
Seeing a lot of that. It's a good, nice, solid response. So, yep.
Now this next one, the Tengu Bushi, I love this, Blade Masters.
Ugh.
Should the regiment be composed entirely of Tengu Bushi stands, the regiment's Flawless Strike special rule activates on hit rolls of 1 and 2 instead of just 1.
That entire army is OP. My God. I mean, just because they haven't won a big tournament, they are so OP. That is such a great rule. Oh my God. On a 1 or a 2? So, yeah, okay. 33% of the time, I'm coming at you.
33% of the time, it works every time.
It works every time. That is so good. But, I mean, let's face it, Euroni have needed a little bit of help. And, they're very, very new. They're the newest faction. So you had to expect stuff like this coming out.
Yeah.
And the idea of, okay, +1 wound for the modular stay. Yeah, that's great. That gives them a little bit more staying power now. And it's something that they've desperately needed because they were just getting shredded. It's that they were a lot like Nords, but they didn't have the benefit of being Nords.
Yeah.
So they were paper armor, but they also didn't have the crazy backup that the Nords do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So all in all, good changes, I think, across the board. I don't see anything in there that is really egregious.
No. I mean, I think everything across the board makes sense.
Yeah.
Draws things more in lines with, where the design philosophy is now, how the game is played now, pulling it back towards the story, lore.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that they're doing that, starting to clean some of that stuff up. I mean, like with how we covered this, a long time ago, but like some of the lore of it, right? Like the spires are just so weird and convoluted.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they created these guys and they created these guys. I'm like, why aren't they more powerful then? Like,
yeah. Yeah. It's, why they died of a stiff wind. They're going to get their glow up here shortly.
Yeah.
And, I forgot where I heard, but, I've noticed this and other people have noticed this. It's hard to find Spire's lore and real meaty lore for them other than what's in the blurbs
yeah,
for them. But Spire's lore it's everywhere. It's in the Dwegholm section. It's in the Nord section. It's literally everywhere, interspersed throughout everything. They touched just about everything in the world.
Yep.
But at the same time, they didn't really feel cohesive. And again, they were the starter box. They were 100 Kingdoms and Spires were starter box. They literally had to do all the things. They had to cover all the bases. They had to have movement. They had to have defense. They had to have hard-hitting attack. And so they didn't have the flavor that some of the newer armies have come out with. Yeah. So I really cannot wait to see their glow up when they get their treatment. And I think it's coming this quarter, I think, is what the plan is. And it's really going to be fun to see because they need to have a little bit more identity. I'm not saying they're not playable. I'm just saying they need, again, we're going to go back to the idea that in Conquest, if something has a 51% win rate, they consider that worthy of looking into.
Yeah.
So, but I think Spires needs a little bit more flavor balance. And looking at what they did here, you can kind of get an idea of where they're going to go.
Yeah.
And oh boy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And the best thing that's going to happen for Spires is new kits, updated kits, because they are amongst the oldest of the plastic, where you open it up and you have 3 different colors of gray, in one box.
You're talking to a Nord player here, okay? I don't want to hear it.
Oh, whatever. Nords had their glow up.
But they need new kits so bad.
I mean, 100 Kingdoms finally got that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they progressed forward. So they're doing that. They're refreshing the old lines, which is great now that they've really honed in on such spectacular sculpting.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, I did not finish building my Vanguard infiltrators because I could not stand the old plastic. And particularly the round sprue connections.
Oh,
that was the worst. That was the worst.
I know. I've got to build another box of Ogre and another box of Trolls, and I'm not looking forward to it. But I'm also not going to wait until the new kits come out. So
yeah, who knows when that would be. Wow, that's a lot of change.
One last thing. I don't know if it's still up on the web store because I think it was limited, but they are reprinting what used to be known as the compendium, but they're printing the lore book.
Oh.
It's a limited edition. I think it's also coming in a regular edition, but I have pre-ordered that because, man, the lore for this stuff is so good. I could just sit there and put 2+ Toughs lore videos on repeat and just listen to it because it's so good and he covers it so well. Oh, it's so good.
And he has those dulcet tones. So,
yeah. And if you're into 3D printing, run out there to their website. They have STLs now for city-states, Dwegholm. Who else? There's 4 different sets. 100 Kingdoms. Did Nords get a set? I don't remember. But there's 4 sets of STLs for some themed terrain for your boards. And one thing I will say is some of the earlier sets, prepare to fix them in your slicer. There are some errors. I was told that you can re-download them and a lot of that stuff is fixed. I didn't. I just fixed it in the slicer and just saved the fixed files. So, but yeah, they're beautiful. Beautiful models. The Dwegholm stuff is just on point. Oh, it's so good looking. And it's kind of based around that Crucible of Wills campaign. So, yeah,
I can dig.
Very thematic, very nice. So, yeah, but that's Conquest. You will be hearing more about this game because, yeah, it's just so good.
It's so good.
So much fun. But you want to move on to Magic?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go to sleep now.
Okay. And Bill has signed off. It's just us, folks.
The world has gotten even stranger than you already know.
At this point, I doubt anything would surprise me.
$10 says you're wrong.
So like I said, Bill is no longer with us. Don't wake the baby.
That's not true.
I'm just going to riff on this a little bit. I really want to give a big shout out to the card designers for this Final Fantasy set that's coming out in Magic the Gathering, because I feel like they took great pains knowing that Final Fantasy is beloved by so many.
Oh, boy.
To really work with artists and get the flavor for the cards. Even if some of the cards are reprints, taking those older cards
and
finding how they fit with the stories of the different Final Fantasy games. So like one of the ones that struck me, so I'm mostly going to focus on primarily the Titus deck, commander deck, and then I'll pick out a few cards that I thought were super awesome throughout the set, including Vivi, and how broken Vivi is. But, you know, like they had different ones. So Final Fantasy X is the Titus one. Cloud's got, you know, Final Fantasy VII.
Yep.
Who else they have? They have Ishtola and Terra as well.
Oh,
yeah.
I love Ishtola. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she comes in Esper too. And I was like, perfect. She also has a mono blue card. Her deck looks real fun. It's like a lot of life drain, artifacts, that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Not trying to get you back into the game, Bill, but
I was going to say, this is the set that could potentially, you know, I wasn't that over the moon about the Warhammer set.
Yeah.
Mostly because it felt like to me, this is Magic with different art. Whereas this Final Fantasy set, with the exception of the caveat that you're going to talk about here shortly, it just seems really like, wow, I could really get into this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
So, spoilers for Final Fantasy X, which if you haven't played it in the last 25 years, it's on you. So some of the cards in there are just absolutely gorgeous. You know, one of the fun ones, it's an existing Magic card called Inspiring Call. Now, this deck focuses on counters, right? 1/1 counters, manipulating counters on permanents, you know, that kind of thing. So Inspiring Call, it's 2 and a green, and each one of your creatures becomes indestructible and gets a +1/+1 counter, right?
Jesus.
So it's really good. But what they did is they put that on for the scene where Titus and Yuna, you know, before they leave Luca, start laughing, right?
Oh, man.
And then the scene at the very end, you know, where Titus is fading and he comes up behind Yuna and like kind of hugs into her.
Whoa, spoilers.
Oh, what? They put that on the card called Farewell.
Oh, dude. That's cool.
And they just constructed it so well. I mean, like they took some liberties to shoehorn in, you know, the entire crew.
Yeah.
But each one of the characters from the game has flavor that I think really fits what they were in the game, you know. So like Titus, for example, he's the face commander. He costs Bant, so that is blue, white, green. That's the color identity for the deck. He manipulates counters. So you can move counters once per turn between one of your creatures to another.
Oh, boy.
And then when one or more of your creatures deal combat damage to an opponent, you proliferate. Of course, proliferate, that rule is you can, for every permanent or player that has a counter, you can add an additional counter.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
So, I mean, it was very popular with like infect decks, right? Because you put a poison counter on someone and you proliferate till they hit 10 and they lose the game.
Yeah.
So that's a hidden strategy. Not so hidden in that deck. But it's a really cool mechanic. And when I first read it, not knowing anything else that was in that deck, first off, before I even knew he was going to have a deck, I was talking with my buddy Corey and said, if they make a Titus commander, that's my commander.
Yeah.
And then they released it and I was like,
hey, guess
dang
what?
it. You had to do it, didn't you?
Look what I'm buying. God dang it.
But the deck is actually pretty bent. It's all very consistent, right? The theme is on point all the way through. They even threw in a sin card in there, which I thought was pretty interesting. But Let me pull up the deck list real quick, because Yuna has a specific ability that you can go infinite with. So Yuna is the quote-unquote backup commander. This is her Bant colored card. She's having a separate card printed in the main set I'll talk about in a second, because that card is dumb. But she's 1 in Bant. She is, I think she's a priest or cleric. Hold on. I'm just pulling up the commander deck list. So she has an ability on her card that says tap, add 1 mana of any color. And then, I forgot the other writer on it. 1 second. Of course, I put mine near the bottom. It's dumb. Okay, so Yuna, Grand Summoner, is 1 in Bant. She is a human cleric legendary. Grand Summon, tap, add 1 mana of any color, period.
Yeah.
When you cast a creature spell, when you next cast a creature spell this turn, that creature enters with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it.
Jesus.
Then, whenever another permanent you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, if it had 1 or more counters on it, you may put that number of 1/1 counters on target creature. Here's the thing. Grand Summon says tap, add 1 mana of any color, period.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend it on your next creature.
Oh, God.
And so you have those like enchantments where it's, like 4 blue, untap target creature. So you tapped add blue, and you do that, and you can create an infinitely large creature that you just drop onto the battlefield.
Oh my God. That doesn't seem right.
Right? It's kind of bent, isn't it?
Just a little.
Yeah. So like there's just ridiculous combos with this deck, and I absolutely love all of it. There are some like cards that I thought were a little bit weaker, like Orin, for example. Love that guy in the game. He's kind of weak. He's 3 and a white for a 2/5 vigilance, shooting star. Whenever Orin attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. When you do, exile target creature defending player controls with power less than Orin's power until Orin leaves the battlefield.
Damn.
So he can progressively like exile your opponent's board until they do something about him.
Yeah.
Right? So it's decent, but when I see Orin, I just think he's just really strong as a warrior.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect him to be like exiling things. So it's just a weird mechanic. Then Riku, I thought, was a really fun card. So she's a legendary human artificer. Whenever you put 1 or more counters on a creature until end of turn, that creature can't be blocked by creatures your opponents control.
Oh, Jesus.
But then she has Steal, which is 1 and tap. Move a counter from target creature an opponent controls onto target creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery.
Oh.
So you could just snatch things up. So now in Magic, of course, they have indestructible counters. They have lifelink counters. They have flying counters. They have all these types of things, right? And so being able to manipulate those to steal them from your opponent, and then with Titus, you're moving it around to your different creatures, right? Then you have Lulu, one of the other main characters, Stern Guardian. I thought she would be like blue-black, but just to fit her into the color identity, they made her mono blue.
Huh.
Says whenever an opponent attacks you, choose target creature attacking you, put a stun counter on that creature so it doesn't untap the next turn. But then she has, and this is why it's bent, 3 and a blue, proliferate.
Oh, God.
She doesn't have to tap.
Oh, no.
It's just a mana
Just
sync
3
ability.
and a blue.
And in this kind of deck, you can make infinite mana like that.
Yeah.
So
We were just talking about how to make infinite mana.
yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
No, that's not funny.
Like she's like this whole deck is like super low to the ground and it's super fun. What they did for summons I thought was super cool too. So the summons they actually fused creatures with sagas. Now the sagas, they come in as an enchantment and you put lore counters on them. And so as you progress through, they may have like 3 or 4 different stages. So the first one, you get that ability. Then the next turn, you add another lore counter, you get the next ability, right? And when you get to the 4th lore counter, then it's sacrificed, right?
Okay.
And so when you think about, summons in all the Final Fantasy games, you usually like kill whatever you're fighting when you have them out, but
Yeah.
they come in, they do something, they leave,
Yeah.
right? That's the classic way they're handled, not like Final Fantasy X where they actually stay on the battlefield for a while. But it's kind of fusing that. And so they did, I thought it was very smart the way they handled that. And for me, the standout summon is going to be Bahamut.
Oh, God.
Because Bahamut is dumb. So it's 9 colorless, so you don't need to have any colors, right? 9 colorless, 9/9.
Holy.
Again, it's easy to make infinite mana in these decks, so it's not going to be a problem
It's not going to
casting
be hard
it,
to get it out and then put counters on it.
right? So its first 2 lore counters are destroy target non-land permanent, right? Its next one is, I think you draw 3 cards, but its final one is Mega Flare, which is this creature does damage to each opponent equal to the mana value of all permanents under your control.
Oh, my God. No way.
So if it's only him on the battlefield, it's a base 9 damage to all of your opponents.
Oh, my God.
Now, I'm assuming you're going to have other things on the board,
Probably.
so I imagine this is going to be somewhere in the 15 to 20 range,
Jesus.
generally speaking.
That's a game ender.
Yeah. But remember, we have Lulu,
Yeah.
who can proliferate as a mana sink.
Oh, for God's sakes.
So you put Bahamut on the field, and by the way, that ability can happen at instant speed. So if they try to kill him, you're like, cool. In response, proliferate, Mega Flare.
Oh, God. Oh dear God. That's not right. Wow.
But they are also, because they're sagas, they're enchantment creatures. So things that affect enchantments can also affect them. So they can be destroyed by enchantment hate. They can be destroyed by creature hate. But that also means they can be returned by things that return enchantments and
Sure.
whatnot.
Yeah.
And the other unicard, right, is really dumb. So she's 3 green and a white. Hey, look, it fits in the deck.
Yeah.
She's a 3/5 human cleric. because she's Yuna Hope Aspira, you can have both Yunas on the battlefield, by the way. During your turn, Yuna and enchantment creatures you control have trample,
Oh, God.
lifelink,
Oh, God.
and ward 2.
Oh, God.
At the beginning of your end step, return up to one target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. The finality counter, of course, if it dies, it gets exiled instead of going to the graveyard. But guess what? Oh, that's right. Titus can move that finality counter off of it.
Just some schlub you brought in. Oh, God.
Or he can move it to himself. He's the commander. He can come back.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Why not just eat it?
So if you have that Yuna and you proliferate out that Bahamut, it has lifelink. And it says this creature does the damage.
My God.
So if you hit all of your opponents for 20, you gain 60 life.
That's just not right. Oh, my God. That's not right. Wow.
So it's wild, the strategy stuff coming out, but it's very flavorful. They did this with a bunch of other cards too, you know? So like the Terra out of the commander deck, I didn't play, was it Final Fantasy 6 or 4? I can't remember which one it was. But I didn't play it. And so I was talking to Corey about it, and he was like, yeah, it's a good card because she's what we call Mardu colors, red, white, black, right? And her whole thing is like returning small creatures from the graveyard to the battlefield. But then they printed a different card for Terra where she is technically all colors.
Oh, boy.
Because it also has her when she ascends into her Esper form.
Jesus.
And it's pretty, like, she's one who can cheat out Bahamut too. Because literally you put an enchantment, or I think it's a saga, from your hand on the battlefield, and if you do, it goes all the way up to its max thing and just nukes the board.
Oh, God.
And so she has this ability to flip back and forth between her Esper form and her regular form. And I was like, that's so cool. You know, the fact that they worked that in.
You know, it's just the theminess of, again, like I said, I haven't been really intrigued by a lot of these themed releases until this one. And, you know, no way am I getting back into Magic, but oh my Lord, this is just,
I'll just bring over the deck spill.
Yeah. There you go. See, I'm telling you what, that's just absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
I love it. I just love it when they're able to capture that flavor. And, you know, I just, like I said, I looked at a lot of the 40K stuff, the crossover there with, honestly, it just felt like a skin slapped over. You know, I just, nothing really sent me into a tizzy, and I didn't really see a lot of people that were 40K mainliners going, yeah, I'm going to pick this up and give it a try. You know, I don't know.
It's really interesting, though, that on the competitive side of things, there's a well-known CEDH player named Gold Sabertooth. He's been winning with Marnius all over the place.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
He figured out how to make Marnius work. And it really came after that. I tell you before the show, the ban of the Dockside Extortionist.
Yeah.
In particular, because that card was punishing to anyone running artifacts or enchantments, because it's 1 in a red. When it enters, you create X treasure tokens, which are tap sack for any color, equal to the number of enchantments and artifacts your opponents control.
Oh boy.
So that card's dumb. I mean, it's so powerful, particularly in a format that's running so much fast mana.
Yeah.
You know, you're slamming down as many 0-drop artifacts that you can to produce mana, and then this tiny little freaking goblin drops on the battlefield, and that player wins the game. You know?
Kind of flat out. Yep.
And Marnius works off tokens. You know, he creates like Astartes tokens, but he's really good with was it Academy Manufactor, I think it is. It's like who would have thought this card was so powerful? But it's a little robot that says whenever you create a food, treasure, or clue token, you create one of each instead. Right? And so you just pump out crazy amounts of tokens, and then you just go off, right? But you couldn't do that before with Dockside. But I digress, you know. But like Marnius has been played. I think, I mean, honestly going to say it, Vivi is the card out of this set that is probably going to find its way into competitive Commander games. High ranking games, because he's so stupid good. So this little guy, if you played Final Fantasy IX, you know him. If you haven't, just look him up.
Yeah.
He's so funny because he's kind of just like this completely naive, you know, guy running around, and he attaches onto Zidane, the main character, and they grow throughout. I mean, Final Fantasy IX is, I think, very underrated. But his card, I don't know if they meant to print it, but they did. So he's 1, a red, and a blue for a 0/3 wizard. his first ability says, for 0 mana, add mana, either red or blue mana in any combination to your mana pool. Only do this once per turn and only on your turn. Oh, and the amount of mana is equal to Vivi's power.
Oh, okay.
Then his other ability reads, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, not instant sorcery, non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Vivi, and Vivi does 1 damage to each opponent.
Oh my God.
Right? So, okay, yeah, that sounds good. But wait, there are cards that read like Curiosity, which says, whenever you do damage to an opponent, draw a card.
Oh God. Here it comes.
So, if you've got Curiosity or Ophidian Eye or have it paired up with Tandem Lookout, any single non-creature spell, it could be a cantrip, one blue, look at the top card, draw a card. Actually, no, you do damage to all your opponents, you draw 3 cards.
Jeez.
Right?
Oh my Lord.
And then, oh yeah, he's in red, so I have those ritual spells to ramp out a crap ton of mana. So then what I can do is Desperate Ritual into Pyretic Ritual or vice versa, into Seething Song. And now I've got all this mana in my mana pool, right? And for each card I cast, I'm drawing 3 cards. But then, it's not done yet. You have cards like Harmonic Prodigy, which says whenever a triggered ability of a shaman or a wizard triggers, it triggers an additional time.
Oh, crap.
So Vivi hits your opponents twice, so you draw 6 cards. And then you combine that with
+1s.
And he keeps stacking, and he keeps stacking, and he keeps stacking, right? And so you sort of like manually storm out, right, when you play this card, because you're going to draw through your deck, which is why you have a failsafe like Jace Wielder of Mysteries, which says if you would draw a card and you don't have any cards in your deck, you win the game instead of losing it.
Oh my God.
By the way, he is a non-creature spell, so
yeah, he'll be out there no matter what. Oh my God.
And so there's all kinds of different strategies that you could do with it. And I was thinking like, man, how do I make this really work? Playing with the Satali deck, it kind of gave me the idea, holy crap, because you can only activate it once per turn, right? Vivi is relatively inexpensive.
Yeah.
But what you could do is, as you're jamming through your deck, you'll have like 3 functional Curiosity effects, right? Tandem Lookout is the one that's the best because you can soul bond it with Vivi.
Oh.
And so if Vivi leaves the battlefield, then it could be soul bonded with another creature, right? So you're going through all these effects, manually storming out, and I was like, oh yeah, I can play like Heat Shimmer or Molten Duplication to create a copy of Vivi, use his mana ability in response, so I add, ridiculous amounts of mana, right? That Vivi goes to the command, now I've got another copy of Vivi, and I keep moving.
Lord.
I keep moving, right? So like that card is dumb.
Could you have an infinite turn?
I mean, yeah, it's non-deterministic, right? Because it's not like specific things happening because you're just drawing manually through your deck instead of, tutoring it.
Oh, yeah.
But with how cheap the cantrips are, there's a number of, exile, 2 blue cards instead of paying type stuff. Has a ton of interaction up, so that way you can counter spells. And again, every time you cast a counter, Vivi triggers, right? And you dig through your deck, right?
Oh, God.
And then it's got the ability, you can only do this on your turn.
Yeah.
But there are ways that you can try and set it up at different times, playing cards like Born Upon a Wind, which states you can cast all of your spells as if they had flash, right? So you just got to set up that right turn, hold the interaction, try and keep in the board, what it is. It could be end step, you rip out a Cyclonic Rift, bounce all the permanents that your opponents have, back into their hands, and then you go on to your turn, and since they're all just dealing with all this crap in their hand, you go through and you try and storm out and fight your way through the counter spells. But the thing is, you're going to be digging through your deck at the same time you're fighting the counter wars.
Yeah. And
you also have access to things like Rhystic Study. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you draw a card unless they pay 1. You have your Mystic Remora, which is another draw engine, And then you have backup lines with like Underworld Breach and Lion's Eye Diamond, where you can storm out through your graveyard if you have this like explosive turn, but don't quite get there. And you have to discard, and craft your perfect 7, and then like your graveyard's most of your deck. And they're like, okay, cool. Next turn, I'm going to go through the Lion's Eye Diamond, Brain Freeze combo or something,
God.
Vivi's just dumb. I think he's going to hit competitive.
Yeah.
Instantly.
It sounds like it. It sounds like that could be a lot of fun.
Now, with everyone getting back into their favorite stories, God, the prices are insane.
Oh, God. This is the caveat I mentioned.
Yeah.
You want to hit some of those prices you gave me earlier?
Yeah. So So normally, Commander decks MSRP is probably like $45-$50. It depends on the printing. So the Commander decks, which I think you can find some on TCG Player, I don't know. But I got it when it was $70. And that's about where it's going to settle, I would think, when product actually hits shelves, if no one's actually buying them. Mm-hmm. But the deck is really good for the tightest deck, that is. The other decks are going for more money, or were. So on Amazon, I found it for $70. I'm like, I'll lock down the price. Because when they first dropped, people were scalping the crap out of it.
Oh, sure, I'll bet.
And I think it was like $120 to $170 per deck. And I was like, there's no way I'm doing that. So when it finally kind of settled down, I bought. But right before they sold out last weekend, they were running $90 plus per deck. Holy crap. Now play booster boxes, right? Usually get them, 110, maybe 120. So last weekend they were 140. And this weekend, they're 170.
Yeah, go figure.
So that is, if I'm not mistaken, like a, 40% markup? Yeah. It's kind of dumb. But the most egregious ones are the collector boosters.
Oh, God.
So normally collector boosters, $250 to $300 per normal set. You can't find them for less than $700 right now.
That's oh, my God. Yeah, it's crazy. Absurd. I love it.
The secondary market is insanity right now. And like that VV card I was telling you about, like, I don't think you can find it for less than $65, $70 by itself pre-order.
Yeah.
Now I always tell people, take a breath. There's so much of this product being bought up right now.
Yeah.
That once people start cracking packs, things are going to start flooding the market.
Yeah, it's going to floor, but
so just breathe.
This is the FOMO that GW wishes they could get. Oh my God.
I think I can't remember how many. I think it's like 6. Is it 6? No. So you can get a 24 pack of the collector boosters on TCG Player right now for, guess how much, Bill?
I won't hazard a guess. No.
17 grand.
$17,000. Oh my God. For Magic the Gathering cards that are going to be rotated out. Oh God, I love it. I'm in the wrong freaking business. I should have gotten into card game design.
Well, we were talking about this a long time ago, but it's like, 5 cents per card, maybe a little bit extra for the foiling, depending on what you paid the artist, that kind of stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And then there's the development time and effort, and binding the set and, the play testing that goes on. I would imagine that you're talking about, a booster pack is probably $2, $3, $4 worth of their time and money. And when they're bringing in $17, $18 per, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, particularly on the Final Fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's depending on how that wave hits, it could be, this could change Hasbro's fortunes. Oh, God, did I hear what I just said? Oh, Hasbro having a brain. Yeah, okay.
I mean,
Lord.
In the same year, they're releasing Final Fantasy and Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
And they just did a Marvel Secret Lair, a SpongeBob Secret Lair, Deadpool Secret Lair.
Jesus Christmas.
It's like, holy crap. That Deadpool card's hilarious, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's showing up in competitive decks.
Yeah,
it's
nice.
crazy. It's funny because he literally does what unset cards do, like unstable and all that stuff, where they're joke cards that you can't actually play in legal formats. Where he comes in, as he enters, you trade his text box with another card.
Jesus Christ. That's just not right.
It's hilarious. It's just so funny. And his text box is, at the beginning of your upcoming, I think it does 3 damage to you, right? And then you can pay 3 and sacrifice it, and each one of your opponents draws a card. So, if you give his text box to another creature, the opponent just sits there taking damage unless they sack their creature and let everyone draw a card. But the funny thing is, if you have,
oh, Lord,
flickering shenanigans, every time he leaves the battlefield and comes back in, he has his original text, so he keeps swapping. It's just so funny. It's just so funny. It was perfectly Deadpool.
Yeah, it just, yeah. Oh, man, how they do.
But this Final Fantasy set, I'm very excited that they took the time to consider the fans, consider the stories. They didn't have to ground up this stuff. It was already there for them, and I think that they took a lot of deliberate actions to ensure that the cards, whether they're new or reprints, represented the stories some of our favorite games.
And that's the best part, is the way they're staying true to and making it play like you would imagine the game to play.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you know they've nailed it.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
So, with the one caveat that it's real expensive right now
Yeah.
to try and get into this set. If you're an existing Magic player, I encourage you to investigate the set. I'm not going to be buying up a bunch of stuff. I got the Titus deck. I'm going to do some singles purchases. I'm not looking to have the entire set. There are some cards that they printed that piss me off because they're all Final Fantasy X and I need them. So like they did a Ristic study, which is the scene where Titus and Yuna are in the lake next to the tree where they kiss for the first time. And then they reprinted Thrasios as Titus. You guys suck. Because those are going to be the chase cards because they're so expensive.
They're going to be, oh my Lord.
But they got you. They hooked me on this. I'm back playing Final Fantasy X again. I love this game. More about it in After Dark, where I will riff on it. But I encourage you to look at it. As a narrative gamers, right? I think Magic actually told a good story.
Yeah. Through
the cards with a story that was already told, but they were able to take that and make it something visual and represented. So if nothing else, just go look at the card artwork. If you go to MTG Spoiler or something like that, you can look at all the cards and they're just gorgeous pieces of art. Gorgeous pieces of art.
Love that.
So that's my rant here. Stake my money on it. Vivi is going to be a competitive commander.
Okay, you heard it here.
You heard it here, folks. It's going to be ridiculous. I've heard some rumbling that he's starting to brew on it since his card was spoiled. But when I first saw him, I was like, that's dumb. I knew when I was playing Force of Will way back in the day, and they printed this red-green Prisia card. And I looked at it, and I was like, that's a turn one kill. And, speaking to one of my friends who was really heavy into the game too, they spoiled that card. I'm literally texting him this card is broken. It wins on turn one. And they're like, what? And I was like, look at this. He's like, oh my God, look at that. And you know what? It became the number 1 competitive deck in Constructed in Force of Will that year. Oh my God, it was so dumb.
How weird is that?
But it's one of those things you just see and you're like, Now I have to say, with the VV card, I'm not sure that quite fits his flavor, but I'm glad they made one of my favorite characters from Final Fantasy IX this amazingly powerful wizard.
Yeah, really good, something you want to play.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
I love it.
Wow, that was a rundown of Conquest with a little smattering of Magic Final Fantasy there.
Yes, it was.
So that makes up the show, folks. Now, Bill and I are looking at, what the next shows are going to be. We're going to keep going with our Getting Started series. We've got a number of games to look at. MCP, Bill's going to have to teach me Shatterpoint and Legion and Frostgrave and Stargrave and Oathmark. And
well, I was thinking of, and we'll get some feedback at what you guys want to see, but looking at doing a Getting Started, like you said, for MCP, maybe one for Shatterpoint, maybe one for Star Wars Legion. Going to hold off on that until the new starter boxes are out.
Yeah.
Because it's, if you get into Legion right now, what you're going to buy is a lot of stuff you're going to throw away. So, the models are going to be fine. Some of the tokens will work, but by and large, the cards and all that stuff are trash.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and the rule set that's in there is junk.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but when that comes out, and then I thought we would do one combined episode on what I like. I'm just terming as the 5 core games.
Yeah.
The 5 leagues from the Borderlands, 5 Parsecs from Home, the new one they just came out with, Oathmark, Frostgrave, Stargrave, those kind of games that are indie but sell amazingly huge amounts and have rabid fan bases because they're really good games. But maybe even something like I have been avoiding getting into the Xeogenesis Kickstarter or GameFound campaign, but I may just pull the trigger on it just to have it.
Yeah.
It's the new game that's coming out from the GW ex-employees. So, yeah, it's Phil is doing the lore, and it looks like it could be very, very cool. I just don't know if I want another big stompy robot game. So, I don't know. We'll see. But it's whatever you guys want to see. I really want to do, I think, MCP next. MCP is hitting another stride. Mm-hmm. It's really playing well, playing fun. really just the game's in a good place right now.
Yeah,
There's not a
yeah.
lot of oppression. There's some really good meta lists that are countered by other good meta lists, but then all the casual lists are just fine and just as much fun. And it's not a, oh, you didn't bring X, you lose. Nah, it doesn't play that way. So, and Shatterpoint, yeah, I would like to cover. I think Shatterpoint just does not get enough love for some odd reason, but it's a really good game, and it sells out. You know, it sells. I just don't see a ton of coverage on it, which is so weird because it's fun. It's another one of those fun games. But, you know, hit us up. Tell us what you want to see next. But I think MCP is the next show.
Oh, it's 100% is.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's going to be a big show. There's oh God. The getting started portion, I mean, the game mechanics itself, I don't think are terribly complicated.
Yeah.
What's going to be most complicated for you all getting started is going to be hero selection, and we'll have a long talk about that.
Yes, we will. And
long talk.
most of it will be argumentative. I love it.
So that does it for the show, folks. Thanks for joining us, hearing the rants about Conquest and riffs on Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
If you are a Patreon, you can stay tuned after dark, where we'll riff even more with more colorful language. But as for right now, thanks for joining us.
The Albuquerque Narrative Gamers Podcast, or Anger Podcast, is protected under the Creative Commons license. You can find information for this at creativecommons.org. Information and links about the show's topics will be in the show notes, as will any other copyright information that needs to be presented.